Welcome to the Bike Talk with Dave podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Dave Mabel, and I'm super excited about today's episode as we have got a real legend of the sport of mountain biking. Truly, I am thrilled to have Susan DeMattei on today. If we go back to when mountain biking was in its infancy, we can go back to what I call the first generation of mountain bikers. The guys fixing up old clunkers and bombing down Mount Tam. Guys like Gary Fisher, Joe Breeze, Charlie Kelly, Mike Sinnard, Tom Ritchie. Once those guys started actually producing and selling this new type of bike, the mountain bike, and people started buying them and riding them, somewhere along the way somebody said, "Hey, I bet I can go faster than you," and mountain bike racing was born. Early racing began in the United States. The National Off-Road Bicycling Association, or NORBA, held a race series in the US that was a pretty darn big deal. And those that lined up to contest these races in the 80s, I consider to be kind of the second generation of mountain bikers. The ones who really got mountain biking off the ground and helped shape it into what it is today. People like Ned Overend, John Tomac, Tinker Juarez, and Julie Furtado. These folks set the stage for the 90s when mountain biking matured. While the UCI, cycling's governing body, did host a couple of seasons with some mountain bike World Cups in the 80s, it wasn't until 1990 that the very first UCI Mountain Bike World Championships were held, which were in Durango, Colorado, not Vail as I might say later. And it wasn't until the 1996 Olympics that they included mountain biking as an Olympic sport. But it was in the late 80s and early 90s as mountain biking matured that people like Dave Wiens and his now wife Susan DeMattei could actually make and earn a living at this young sport. Susan, our guest today, is in the Mountain Biking Hall of Fame. She competed in early UCI World Cup races, as well as a couple of World Championships where she earned a silver medal. She also was selected to represent the U.S. at the first ever Olympic mountain bike race in Atlanta, Georgia in 1996, earning a spot on the podium and bringing home the bronze medal. I'm telling you, it was such a treat to talk with Susan. It was cool to hear stories from the early days of mountain bike racing. But I also wanted to talk to her about encouraging women to give mountain biking a try. If you listened to the episode on the International Women's Mountain Biking Day, then you may recognize a bit of this conversation. But I promise there's so much more. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Susan DeMattei. Oh, what a privilege to have Susan DeMattei. Did I say that right? I'm saying that right, aren't I?
You said it exactly right.
Oh, awesome. I love that. Gosh, welcome to Bike Talk with Dave. We've got a couple of things to talk about. But it's just a pleasure to have you on. So thanks tons for making time tonight.
It is my pleasure. I haven't chatted with anybody about mountain biking for quite a while, so this is kind of my little feel-good moment for the day.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, gosh, I don't know. I don't want us to sound old, but but I'm going to say that, like, I mean, mountain biking has evolved since we got into it in the 80s. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. But I think what hasn't changed is the looks you see on people's faces when they start doing it. Our rec center, I just saw an ad in our little local paper, for instance, has a class, mountain biking for adult beginners. And I don't know if maybe they offered it last year, but I just was like, that is so cool. And due to popular demand, thank you, they had to add a second class because lots of people are still wanting to do it. And so that just makes me really happy. It's not a fluke. It's been a wonderful thing that millions of people have enjoyed and feel better every day because they're doing it.
Absolutely. And I know that that's an important part of your mission in life, getting people on bikes, no matter what kind of bikes, not just mountain bikes, but whether they're riding to work or racing or just enjoying the trails around Gunnison, Colorado. But Um, Before that, though, like, how did you start riding bikes? What got you going? Because honestly, you and I are about the same age. You might be, I don't know, a semester or two ahead of me.
29, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Again. Again. Um, but what got you started riding bikes in the first place? I know you were in nursing school, and
Hmm.
I don't know, something attracted you to the two-wheeled machine.
Yeah, I went to school in a town kind of in central Colorado called Chico State University, and Chico actually had a kind of a highly regarded road bike team. And I had a boyfriend for a time, I guess when I had just graduated from college, maybe 23 years old. And I was getting into, triathlon was big, and I liked to
Hmm.
run, and I was finally kind of finding my sporting self. I didn't really do much in high school, so I was going out with a guy who was had a little bit of a sponsorship for a mountain biking team. So he was doing some of the races that were even on the East Coast, actually, that were starting up. This was mid to late '80s, and so I kind of was like, well, if he's doing it, why shouldn't I get a bike and do it? And so I just kind of started doing it for fun and exercise and enjoyed it and started going to some races. And why should I just watch him? Why don't I enter? I think I'm okay. And so just by happenstance, I just enjoyed it. And you're always, the races were always up like at Lake Tahoe and in beautiful places. Some would, I was familiar with, and many not. But it was just a great way to kind of start seeing some of even California, where I grew up, Northern California. And ironically, this is how old I am. When I graduated from high school, whatever year that was, 1980, mountain bikes weren't really around yet. I was in the, quote, hotbed of mountain biking, Marin County. And it wasn't until I graduated from college and went back to Marin, but by that time, a lot of the trails were closed. Um,
Oh,
yeah. So anyway, I liked.
those dang hoodlums of Marin County, right?
Yes, yes, and so it was starting to be a thing. But loved road racing. Did quite a bit of that just out of college, and then some mountain bike races, and it just kind of snowballed to where, wow, I'm doing okay at this, and I really really like it, and started making a little money, and decided maybe I can give it a go. And so the timing was impeccable. It was a great time to get in because it just wasn't, the world wasn't inundated with it yet, but the world was getting excited about it. So that was kind of how I
And
segued in.
so you were getting excited about it as well. I have to ask, do you keep in touch with the dude you were dating who got you into mountain biking?
This is the most ironic question I've ever been asked because a day or two ago, I saw somebody on the trail who lives here who owns a bike shop. And they said, Susan, I just heard that Mike passed away. And
Oh,
yes, so this guy, his name was Mike Jordan, and he was on like the Ross bicycle team for a few years, and yeah, and I don't know what happened. I still can't. I'm not a good Googler, so it's I'm
mm,
I I don't know how to find out information about it. But sadly,
sure.
yes, that's the case. But yeah, he and so many people around that time of mountain biking were just having a cool time getting to do something completely different, especially if you were a woman, I have to say. That was kind of the interesting thing about it. There were definitely a lot less women doing it, but boy, if you were decent, it was great because a lot of the sponsors wanted to have a woman on the team, and that, behooved us.
Um, yeah, so this is 80s. In 88 or 89, you went to the World Championships. So you got good pretty quickly, didn't you?
Yeah, but again, it wasn't that hard at that time to do it. I was a good climber and cardiovascularly good. My descending skills, my technical skills were terrible. I trained 90% of the time on a road bike, so I could get away, especially when the races used to be really mountain biking. You're
Hmm.
climbing mountains. Um, Even in Europe, there was a lot of climbing and stuff, so I could get away with not being so good technically, but being able to climb. But yeah, it was great. All of a sudden, yes, we get to go to the World Championships. This is just it seemed a little bit surreal at the time, but really fun. And I think I knew how lucky I was to get to travel to some of these places that I had not yet thought even that I would be going to in my early 20s over to Europe and stuff. And that was such a treat.
It's super interesting talking to you because at that time, mountain biking was so new. Like, I'm not sure if the World Championships you went to was the first for mountain biking or not, but it couldn't have been more than the third or fourth.
Yeah, I think I just read something about this offhandedly. It might have been the second. I'm talking about one that was in Spa, Belgium,
Hmm.
and Sarah Ballantyne, my idol of idols, who had been doing it for a year or two prior to me, and she'd done all kinds of cool things athletically, and I just thought, she was the be all end all, still, and she's like, "Yeah, come on, Susan, this will be great." And we chatted during the race because we could back then, because there, especially in Europe. Now that was a little bit of a difference. In Europe, there were a little more maybe traditional roles for women in cycling. They had women road racers, of course, but the women getting into mountain biking was just a few years behind us. But certainly by the early '90s, all those women came running, and I think that were pretty well embraced by sponsors and so on. So it was really cool to see the sport grow and to see lots of not so traditional European women jumping in.
Didn't you get second in that first?
I think I did.
In That's pretty awesome. Do you know where that medal is?
Oh God. No, but you know what? I
You don't.
no, but I think what I do have is like a few days or a week prior to that, there was a hill climb in Switzerland. We were just trying to do anything to train, and so we were looking
Mhm.
for races that were all nearby in that region. And there was this wonderful, like 5 mile hill climb up one of those really steep little teeny concrete paths that they have, or like asphalt paths that they have through all the green hills in Switzerland. And I got to do that race as a training race, and the prize was a huge cowbell, like a real cowbell, and I do have that one up on a windowsill somewhere because I just thought that was the coolest thing.
That's awesome. That is super awesome. I love that. So fast forward a couple of years to the '94 Worlds at Vail. That had to be surreal. Again, silver medal.
Yeah, you know what? That is, I think I really am proud of that event because that was like the height of the height. Lots of actually really good road racing women came to that event, and every single really good mountain biker was there, and so I was super pumped. It's always fun when it's in your home state. By that time, I'd been in Colorado for a little while, so that was really fun, and there was just a great vibe about it, and the crowds were enormous, and really vocal and fun fun to interact with, and just so inspiring. So that was a really fun time. And some of my family was there, which was really great. But the funny thing was, one of my girlfriends was getting married in Washington State that next day. So I remember we finished the race and gave lots of hugs around. And then I said, I got to go catch a plane because my friend's getting married. And so I had to leave that evening to go to that wedding, which was also really fun. But it was a great event for the Americans and for mountain biking. It was a pretty big time.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say that you are a super good and loyal friend. If if that says anything, like I feel like anybody could say, like, I'm at the World Championships, I'm podiumed. Um,
Yeah,
I'll send you a nice wedding gift, but you actually went. That's
yeah.
awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the Olympics. I think I mentioned, I don't remember if it was while we were recording or not, but you are my first Olympic medalist that I've had on Bike Talk with Dave. So I am very excited. I grew up an Olympic fan, whatever the sport, whatever summer, winter, I don't care which. I love the Olympics. I always have. And it's this, I don't know, this fairy tale land for me. And like you're a human who was there, who I get to talk to. Did you? My first question would be: did you participate fully in the Olympics, or did you go in and do your race and exit?
So first, I have to say I'm totally in agreement with you. I was the same way growing up. Loved all things Olympics. Loved seeing people just who are good at what they do it best under pressure and in the competition. And actually, when I was like 14, I think I loved gymnastics. I still love
Hmm.
gymnastics, and saw Nadia Comaneci. I don't know if you remember that name,
Oh yeah.
and just thought, okay, I want to be Nadia, and she was my idol, and just thought, wow, Olympic dream, so cool. And then, of course, 6 months later, that's gone. But such a super privilege. Again, timing was impeccable for those of us who were kind of racing around that time to get to have Olympic trials and know that we were going to be doing this Olympics in the USA again. What a treat, because more family members and people that can go, and it made it easy on us. And to your question about did we take part, we did get to do the opening ceremonies, and I remember seeing Katie Couric, a few bleachers down from us, interviewing all the really hot track stars. And this is when they had, like the gold shoes and
Yep.
all that kind of
Michael
stuff. Yeah,
Johnson.
Michael Johnson, yeah. And so that was really, big eyes and super cool. We were all kind of in awe. Our little, aw shucks, we're mountain bikers and we were kind of new to this. But opening ceremonies was wonderful and exciting, and we through the USOC, they had secured a wonderful house. We called it the compound. It was this very big house that someone owned, and they donated it to the cycling athletes. So the road cyclists and the mountain bikers got to stay in these few different buildings that were on this wonderful property. So we were, one way that was fantastic because we had privacy and it was quiet and it was calm and all that. But we weren't in the Olympic Village, which I
Mm.
understand, is kind of a cool thing too.
Yep.
And then on the other side, I was whatever I was, 32 or 33, and so I was a little older, and so I was fine with it. You know what I mean? I wasn't trading pins and things like that, and that some of the kids do. So for me, it was a really nice setup. I felt so taken care of, and they were just so kind and helpful, and they let us come to. I think I was in Alabama for a week or two before the race to get acclimated to the heat and the humidity, and and anything they could do to help us was so nice. So yeah, that was all. It was kind of like you're saying. It was kind of surreal to me too, to actually be there. But it was very exciting, and you can't help but have great feelings when you didn't even know that this was going to be in existence when you started doing the sport. That wasn't the reason anybody got into it at that time. It was just this happenstance thing that you went, oh my gosh, we have a shot at this. So that kind of made it really fun too.
It's kind of amazing to look back and think like that was the first time mountain biking was included in the Olympics.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, really?
Yeah.
Like it's been around forever, right? Nope, 96.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of mind-blowing that that was the first Olympics. But it reminds me of like where gravel might be now. I look at a new sport progressing and it's
Right.
just like mountain biking was doing in the 80s and 90s. It was trying to figure itself out and going through growing pains and like you were right there like in those growing pains and helping it grow and gosh, bronze medal at the Olympics. Do you know where that is?
I do. It's in a drawer up in my bedroom, in my little desk
That's awesome.
drawer.
That's awesome. Not the sock drawer?
No, there's a few little odds and ends in there with it, but not the sock drawer.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that so much. So I got to ask, what have you been doing since then? I know that you went to nursing school and you still work in the medical industry.
I do. Yep. I had, when I started mountain biking, like kind of for real, I had already had my degree. And so I was working as a nurse. And then as mountain biking came more into the picture, and I was able to actually make a living out of it and enjoyed it and had to travel a lot, nursing segued out. And so I was out of that. I raced for about 10 years. And then Dave and I got married in 96, a few months after Atlanta. And then I did a little like mountain biking stuff with, some little productions that were happening and whatnot. But I wanted to get back to nursing. I like nursing. And so we have a little hospital here in Gunnison that I worked at for a long time now. I work in the surgery department. And before I went back there, had kids. So we have twins and an older brother. So we've had a great life here, and it's been so nice to continue to, I love mountain biking. I love still keeping in touch with lots of the people that I raced with a long time ago and hearing about them, even if I don't get to see them that often. But still love the sport and still love, kind of my other passion. I'm interested in medicine and things like that. And so I feel like I've gotten the best of both worlds. And I felt really lucky that I could segue back because I think it's hard for some people, if you're doing a sport, there's so many years of livelihood maybe. And, once that kind of stops, I think it could be tough for people to, find another passion or purpose or keep themselves interested and engaged. And I felt lucky that, I've been able to do that.
So out of all that, I have a question, and that is, so was Dave like smitten with his Olympic medalist that he just met, and
Yeah.
it's all starry-eyed when you came home with the medal?
Oh, well, the coolest thing was that Dave was coulda, shoulda, woulda. Dave had a rocky year in '96 as far as his results went, but he was the so good, and for a lot of years after that too. So disappointment, even though he was such a champ about not making the team. There was only two men and two women, and because he had a little bit of experience with trail building and he was interested in a lot of those logistical type things, he was asked to help design the course and work on it. So, like 6 or 8 weeks before the actual Olympics, he was out in Atlanta working with some other people from Vail and the cycling, USA Cycling and so on, prepping the course, which was on an equestrian. It was on the equestrian area where
Ground.
where they're the grounds for those equestrian events. So they fashioned a really good course given the terrain that they had to work with, and it was so awesome because they were getting around in a little golf cart and they were kind of following the race as it went, and of course because they built it, he and a few other people who were in this golf court were going to all the different spots where we were going to be coming through, and every once in a while I'd see his little cap or I'd hear him or say something, and it was so great that he could be there and cheer everybody on, and then nothing like literally coming over the finish line and there he was, first person I could greet, and it was pretty fairy tale, and just so. So nice, it was really a nice event, and I was super stoked, obviously, but at the same time, my teammate on the Olympic team, Julie Furtado, she's the greatest. She's I can't say enough about her talent. She was unbelievable in every discipline of mountain biking, and so consistent, except when it came to some of those, end of the year races. She just won everything all year long, and then tended to fade a little bit. And I think she was also having, I believe it was her lupus diagnosis, maybe starting to show up around that time. So that was the only kind of because Julie, she was the gal. But she was gracious and sweet, and we still had a few good laughs just before we got on the line, and it was fun to have her there as a teammate.
Yeah, gosh, you're all. I don't want to use that word too much, but you're all legends. Like I grew up watching all of you, and that's just awesome. Kat Nash was in that race, Katarina Nash, and I know her from cyclocross.
Yeah,
She's still, racing.
a
She's a little bit
beast,
younger
a
than
beast.
she is a beast. She
Yeah.
is a beast, and like still competitive.
Yes.
Um, Amazing. She's amazing. But she was in the '96 Olympics. I think that's awesome. I think
Yeah,
it's
I
super
know. I
cool.
remember, and I think she even started excelling. I mean, there were a few people in that race who were still racing. Like 5 years ago, Gunrita Dahl, who came in just behind me in '96. She's unreal racer for a long time. So yeah, it's been. I don't keep up a ton on the latest, but I see and I hear, and I'm interested in kind of knowing who's doing what, and keeping track a little bit. And it's fun to see because these girls, Kate Courtney and Georgia
Hmm.
Gould, that was a few years ago now, but a bunch of them who are just they're technically so fun to watch, and beautiful at what they do, and it's really cool how the progression of all the riders for sure, and even the equipment. I laugh, when you think about some of the equipment that right we started on
Yeah, oh yeah. Yep.
back then, but at the same time, I think those of us who love to ride, somebody at work just asked me, "Hey Susan, what do you recommend for bikes?" And I don't know. I'm lucky enough to get secondhand stuff from Dave or some of his, people that he's with. And so all I know is if it rolls, I'll ride it. If it has brakes, I'll ride it. And I'm not really fussy like that, but I just like to know that it's going to roll for me for, an hour or two. And it's just amazing some of the stuff they have now and what they can do with it. It's fun to see, but basically, still a bike.
It is still a bike. Two wheels, two pedals, handlebars, brakes.
Yeah.
Hopefully brakes. Hopefully brakes. Do you remember what bike you rode in the Olympics?
I did. I had my Diamondback. It was a titanium bike. I did have suspension because whenever that was, we started getting suspension 90, 91. And I don't have it here. It's actually in the Bay Area in Marin County, or no, in Davis, California. There's like a cycling Hall of Fame type place, and they have mementos of different people's jerseys and bikes and stuff like that. And it's there. But my old bike that was like a twin to it, that was my training, not racing bike, but they were built up the same. That has lived in my dad and stepmom's base garage for 30 years, so that when I go home to the Bay Area, I take it out. It has bar ends still. It has the same like Manitou fork. It's like urine yellow color. It's hilarious, and I don't care. The thing rolls, and I don't have to pack it up when I go, and it's great.
That's awesome. Tires still crusty, or can you
No,
get new tires put
yeah,
on it?
no, I'm not gonna lie. I finally 2 years ago put one new tire, I think, and otherwise it's the same. Yeah, with none of this, stands or anything. I mean, they're old tubes, and
Right, right.
yeah. So you gotta love it. Yeah, I still love just getting on any bike and be able to cruise around wherever I'm at. But they are definitely a little more built for speed these days.
Boy, oh boy. Do you ever watch the World Cups?
I see little bits here and there. Yeah, I
Would you
know.
even do that course at full speed?
I know. I know. It's so great. No, but that's what's so cool, is just seeing that progression of people. You know, these kids that I know, little kids, you know them too. They didn't have striders even when my boys were growing up 20 odd
Mhm.
years ago. But now these kids are getting and getting really proficient at mountain bikes, and mountain biking when they're literally 5 years old. And so their center of gravity is really low. They have no fear. They're super comfortable on their bike, and their parents are really good riders, and they're always taking them on vacation here and there, and they're just really really good at a really young age. Whereas you and I or anybody else around there, I rode a whatever it was, like a Raleigh 10 speed, to and from school or something, but it's just such a different thing. I'm assuming growing up with, and having those skills from a really young age instead of learning them, when you're older than 20. I was, whatever, 22 maybe when I got on a mountain bike. So, yeah, these people are, the men and women both are such beautiful bike handlers. It's true, like poetry watching them.
100% agree.
Yeah,
100% agree.
yeah.
Uh, and the technology is like, it does help it along, but I mean, that's not everything.
Yeah. Oh
Still
no,
got to steer the dang thing.
you do, and these people they're so darn fit. And as you were mentioning earlier, like you mentioned gravel or whatever, I do remember a lot of the fun that I had, and that I think some other people that I raced with had, because a lot of people came over from the road to mountain
Hmm.
biking. They thought it was, more fruitful, maybe a little more fun. They thought they were going to come over and maybe kick booty, because they didn't think mountain bikers were fit. And that was really fun to do stage races and things with them. I loved road racing. And so a lot of the mountain biking women and men did a lot of stage races and road races. And it was the best training ever, except it wasn't super technical. So I see the overlap. Like, I think the guy's name, is it Tom Pidcock?
Pidcock. Yeah.
Yeah, who won a medal, the gold, I think, and he just won a World Cup, I think, again, this last week, maybe in Italy or something.
Yep.
But he came, I think, from the road and/or cyclocross, and boy, oh boy, he's not winning those races without knowing how to handle a bike. I mean, seriously. So something's going. You know what I mean? It's really
Yep.
cool. That's, I guess, a point of pride is that I feel like mountain bikers started getting the recognition for, it's not just handling the bike. You have to be fit as a fiddle, and now there's teetering so much on the edge of both of those things. You can't win unless you are really fast and strong and a really good bike handler. So the races are exciting and cool to watch.
They are exciting and cool to watch. Super exciting and cool to watch. And
Yeah,
yeah, Pidcock he's got a gold medal or two
yeah. Oh,
in a whole
yeah,
bunch of things.
yeah,
Yeah, he's an amazing athlete. A lot of those people they do so many different things. Like even, uh, watching the gravel thing unfold and this Lifetime series, which includes Leadville, which is, I always said about Leadville, I've done it 5 times, and so I feel like I kind of know it.
yeah. Oh, sure.
I'm not like Joe expert or anything, but I always told people like it's a lot of gravel. There's a lot of road racing,
Yeah,
but there's, I don't know, 5% mountain biking, and that 5% will take you out. Like you have to be able to do that 5%
right,
because otherwise you shouldn't do the whole thing, right?
right. Yep.
And these people are doing, the 200-mile Unbound was 2 days ago.
Yes.
Um, and then Schwamigan, which is 41 miles, and Leadville, which is 100. And they're good at all of it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. They're good at all of it. And then they show up and do a 45-minute cyclocross race in the fall. And then
Right.
they do the 5-day stage race in the Redlands. And they're good at all of it. And it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Like these guys are good at everything.
Yeah. And I think, most of the people I think way back when had trainers, myself included. But I think that training too has evolved probably quite a bit, especially with, power wattage meters. I remember I got to trial one of those in '96 when they were just coming out, and they weighed a ton, and but it was interesting information. And now you can get a power meter on your bike super easy. They're not that expensive. Almost, lots of people have them, and they were an anomaly, back then. But between heart rate monitors and all the cool stuff that you can do, it's not out of the question to be really good at cross for an hour and then maybe, do a 5-hour Leadville or something, or a 6-hour Leadville. If you know what I mean? If you're savvy with your training and your rest
Yep.
time and your cycles and all that. So, that's really come along too. I'm sure the whole training aspect of it.
Yep. Just for the record, I never did a 5-hour Leadville.
No, I don't think anyone has yet. That was a
No,
misstep on my
close,
part, but yeah,
close.
yeah. I mean, just
I haven't even done a 6-hour Leadville, so just to be clear.
yeah. Well, not many people have. So, but the times keep going down with all that stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Absolutely. I talked to Rose Grant last summer, and she's won Leadville twice, and she was in the six. She was close to 7 hours,
yeah.
and I was like, Rose, that was like the winning time
Yes,
back in the early OOs, right?
yeah.
Like
I know.
Dave and Lance are the first to break 7 hours.
Yeah,
I don't remember what year that was, but and now the women are like right there and almost breaking 7 hours, if not already. I'd have to look, but
yeah.
it's amazing what people are doing today, for sure, for sure.
No.
Although I have heard that the power line is not what it once was. Have you heard this? Do you know this?
No, I just remember, hearing Dave talk about it's such a grind of a climb. And I think I got to cheer there maybe at one time. And I think aren't like 99.9% of the people walking it. It's really hard to make,
Oh
isn't
gosh,
it?
yeah.
Isn't it hard to make?
Oh, until until your husband and Mr. Armstrong began that climb, I don't remember what year, no one had ridden it.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know
And
that.
there's a story about that, but Dave and I are doing a conversation here whenever we get it scheduled, and I want to talk to him about that very moment when Powerline became rideable.
Ah, yeah.
But but it was super rutted out. It was super
Oh,
deep ruts, and now it's kind of gravel road. So
okay.
that I mean, it's for the power, it's power line access. So, I mean, that's all fair. It wasn't done to make the race faster, but
Okay.
I think the power line is not what it used to be, but it's still
Yeah.
3 minutes, not 30.
Right.
Um, so I do want to talk about, I don't know, access to mountain biking. I want to talk about women mountain biking, and the context of this is our local IMBA chapter, the Central Iowa Trail Association, recently hosted a women's mountain bike ride. It wasn't a clinic. It was just get together and go for a ride on a Sunday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. And gosh, 30 people showed up.
Oh,
And
nice.
it was awesome. And
Yeah.
they went for a ride and they felt some cohesion and felt some community. And some people met and exchanged phone numbers, and it was awesome. But I don't know. I'm a guy, and so I I don't have the same perspective as a woman, especially a woman who's um, uh, ridden since the '80s. But like, what does mountain biking? Where do mountain biking and women fit together? Like, how? What's your experience with women and mountain biking?
I never tire of this because I feel like for me, being self conscious and not a lot of self confidence when I started getting into that sport, and the growth I had in becoming confident and not so self conscious, doing that, and in tandem with these people that I was meeting, these women who were obviously pretty independent, and they were go-getters, and they were adventurous, and they were welcoming, and they love to laugh and have fun and be self-deprecating. And mountain biking was a thing, but it wasn't the only thing. And so for me, not to be like hyperbolic, but it kind of saved my life. It made my life. It brought me a ton of new people, a ton of new sights, a strength of, knowing the strength of my body and my mind, and a focus and a great camaraderie with women. And I think I mentioned, I hadn't done sports in high school or anything, even though my brothers and sisters did, and I saw the cool things they were doing, but I was too self-conscious to, go out for any teams or anything. So I was a late bloomer, I guess, and having done that, and then when I stopped mountain biking and was here in Gunnison full time, we would have Wednesday night rides with myself and another gal in town here started them. And we did the same thing. We would have a bunch of gals of all different levels come, and some of them would call beforehand and say, I don't know if I should go. I've never really ridden before. I only have tennis shoes and I have this. Does not matter. No one cares. And I actually liked being in the back and just helping these people, because there's nothing as good as seeing. It's like when you're with your kids and you're kind of helping them through a situation, and the smile that breaks out when you see what they do, and then when they see what they do, that's the best feeling in the world. And I still get a little bit over the top when I'm seeing people, and especially women who, or might be a little more timid, or, it's not really their thing. They're not familiar with it. It's too, machine-like. And I'm saying, no, if I could do it, I promise you can do it. So I'm big on what it does for women, and what it has done, and what it continues to do. I just love that part of it. And I've seen over 30 years of, women really finding the fun in themselves, and enjoying something new that you can do by yourself. It's the best social thing in the world. It's a great way to see places, and especially in this day and age, I don't know, it's a great unwind. And I think it's a wonderful coping mechanism, in addition to everything else it does for you, as far as your self-confidence and relieving stress, and just being in nature. Those are all super important things, and I feel like that sport does all of that just to the nth degree.
You answered 5 questions right there. That's awesome. I love that. Who Were there women who were influential to you as you were getting into the sport?
I mentioned Sarah Ballantyne. She
Hmm.
was kind of the queen. She'd been doing it, for a few years before I came in, and she would pretty much sweep everything. But she had just a great attitude, and she just loved to laugh and was very inclusive. And it was competitive, but it wasn't, you know, mean competitive. It was a healthy competitive of, she'd say, Susan, God, that was awesome. You did so great. You pulled away from me there. And I'd say, well, Sarah, awesome, because you dropped me on that descent like a rock. And, we had fun, and I think we made each other better. Jackie Phelan, who has been around even longer than us, she's still, I'm still in contact with her, and just the most unique, interesting, very talented writer still, to this day. She still writes a lot. She was also really cool, because she was super low key, loved to travel, liked the racing, but she loved the experience and the culture of, if we were in Hungary, for instance, she was on we had a World Cup in Hungary one year, and she was there, and she wasn't with our little Diamondback clan, but we met up, and we went to a flea market in Hungary. Like, I wouldn't have thought to do that. But what a great thing to do. It was awesome. And she would bring things home from this flea market just because she could. So she was a wonderful influence, and also very vocal for, women's pay, equal pay, and equal, she wanted to race as long as the men. She wanted to be paid the same. She wanted all the same attention, and just a lot of equality type things that I don't think had really been talked about a ton, or some of the other women weren't really pressing for. So she's fantastic in a lot of, and was like right there when NORBA first started. That was a big National Off-Road Bicycle Association. That was the thing when we were racing, the biggest thing. So she definitely has left a stamp. And then so many of the racers that I knew, especially from Colorado, who were just super fun gals, loved life, loved socializing, and they loved competition. But at the end of the day, we like to get together and cheer on the guys during their race, and then go out and have dinner and just have a nice time. And of course, Julie, I was always been in awe of her prowess. She was like the best athlete I had ever seen in action, and so it was really cool to be racing with her, and sometimes on the off occasion come in ahead of her. That was like that's it. I'm done. It was a great day, and my year's been made. And it was probably because Julie was sick or something. But anyway, had just some great friends and people who made it such a treat to go to the races all the time. The racing part was fun, but the people, men and women, were super fun too. Getting to know the different. We got to even in Gunnison. Dave had a house here when I first moved here, and people from the Italian Diamondback squad, men and women, would come, and they would stay at our little house. And one of them cooked Alfredo one night for us, and just those kind of things that made it super interesting, and added to the whole feel of that time and that culture.
The word, I feel like when you would pin a number on, that's one thing. Like, we're out to break each other's legs, right? Probably shouldn't say that in this household. Don't tell Dave I said that, okay? He was walking though, wasn't he? I did just see him walk away from the computer, so he
Yeah,
must be doing okay.
yeah.
That's another story. So you pin a number on, that's one thing, but outside of after the finish line, it was welcoming. I'm hearing the word welcoming. There was a welcoming environment. They welcomed you in, and helped you develop the confidence that you did through the sport.
Yes, very much. Yeah.
What would you recommend to women to encourage and welcome other women into the sport?
I would pass on, definitely, don't wait another day. Go out, start reasonably, which usually means with somebody who's a more experienced rider, but somebody who's not going to take you on something that's going to scare you or intimidate you, and then do it again the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and you're going to see so much progress so quickly, and you're going to feel really good, and your confidence is going to grow so quickly, and have fun with that. And, yes, you're going to work hard on those climbs or on those rocky sections or whatever, but then you get your reward. You get your reward of coasting through fun terrain, and that's I don't care how slow or fast you are. I'm not fast on that stuff, but it's still, that's the best part. I did all the hard stuff. Now I get the fun stuff, and so that's self-fulfilling right there. And and then, branch out, find as many people as you can of different abilities, and just try different things within reason, to get yourself out there as much as you can, because the rewards really are quick. You do catch on really quickly. And yeah, you're going to get a few scrapes, but that's okay.
It
That
is.
yeah,
It
that's
is.
totally part of it. But I can't emphasize enough. Yeah, it really is just getting out there consistently. And in this day and age, this is kind of always a thing for me. You're talking about Unbound and Leadville and all these really long things. And I live in Colorado here, where everybody is an athlete and everybody does everything to the hilt. But it's okay, if you ride for 45 minutes or 30 minutes. Every ride does not need to be, a 4.5 hour, sufferfest, because I do think sometimes that's how that can scare people off too. So even if you only have a quick 30 minutes, after work or before work or whatever, just go out for a little bit, and make it attainable, make it doable, so that you don't have excuses to not do it. Make sure you have good comfortable clothes and good shorts, so that when you are on your bike, you're comfortable and you don't come back going, oh gosh, that felt terrible. All those little things to ensure that each of those times that you're on the bike is going to be one that you come back with, a big fat smile on your face, because it was fun, and it kind of gave you the chills a little bit, because you're a little afraid, and those little afraid times are what all of us are kind of like, ooh, that's kind of fun.
And it absolutely does put a smile on your face. I love it.
Yeah.
So I have one more kind of question. I'm a guy, a ton of guys mountain bike, right? Like, I don't know, is it 10-1, 10-2, mountain bike, male versus female? I don't know. But it seems like there's a lot more guys than girls who ride mountain bikes on a regular basis. So I don't just want to be part of the problem and be part of the intimidation. I want to be a part of the solution, and I know a lot of other guys do too. What do you think guys can do to help encourage or get rid of that intimidation factor that we all feel going into a new environment, whatever that new environment might be? But for a young woman to dive into mountain biking that's full of all these alpha males puff out their chests could be super intimidating.
Yes.
What can we do as guys to help facilitate people entering the sport and encouraging them along?
What a nice question, first of all. Just what I was talking about, I think, is guys sometimes don't realize that what they think might be an easy little ride is intimidating, and it isn't an easy little ride for somebody who hasn't done it before. So, finding a truly kind of flat, safe, not super sandy area for somebody to do some riding on that has a few turns and this and that. So really, truly starting beginner. Let them get used to, help somebody understand shifting. Why do you want to be in this gear before you get to this hill? Why do you want to be in this gear when you see there's an obstacle coming? Just the basics. They didn't even have dropper posts and stuff, way back when. But now you're shifting, you're braking, it's a dropper post, it's, do I want to lock my bike out? I mean, there's a few things going on that could be going on, but get used to the very, very basics first, even if that means flat pedals, so that you can get your foot off quickly, and, if you're trying something and you fall over. So I think for males, and I think this is the number one reason a lot of people kind of shy away from mountain biking, is because the prototypical got taken on a ride by my husband or my boyfriend and it totally turned me off. It wasn't fun at all. It was total death march. And I get it. I mean, Dave's dragged me on some things where I'm like, oh, I'm going to kill him. Because, to him, it's like, it's not that big of a deal. And I'm like, are you kidding? I'm dying. So it's just understanding that truly giving a person the chance to get the basics down and then slowly introducing the slightly more difficult things so that they can feel a progression without being scared. If people are paying attention to that, I think that's a great way to start.
What's your dream?
I just think there's so much room for bikes in the world. They make so much sense. And now we're coming back to this, our poor climate. I'm lucky enough to live in a place where I literally every day I ride my bike to work. I happen to live 4 blocks away. Not everybody can do that. I'm super lucky. Or I can do errands on my bike, or now there's e-bikes and people are maybe commuting a little bit more. I love the utilitarian use of bikes. I love the exercise for bikes. I love the mental health factors for bikes, the socialization that bikes bring. So I don't see a downside. They help you become a little more technically proficient. Like I couldn't change a tire before, or lube my chain or whatever. And, like these teeny little things, these little teeny victories that help you feel good about your day. I see when our kids riding their bikes to school. I mean, that's a little bit of a thing of the past, I think, which is, that's really sad to me. I would love to see a resurgence of that for a lot of different reasons. So I just think there's such a bonding thing about bikes, and again, it can get where someone has a literally $10,000 bike and this beautiful kit and all that, but that doesn't matter to me. That doesn't matter as long as the person is deriving pleasure and satisfaction and whatever they're intending to do on the bike, doing an errand, they're getting it done in that way. So I just think they're a beautiful thing for the planet, and travel-wise, and bike packing, all these cool things that you can do that really immerse yourself kind of in the here and now. And from what I understand, at least from what I'm hearing from my own kids and seeing, how the here and now is, it's harder and harder to come by. But it does, and this, it puts you so much in the present. You have to be in the present when you're trying to stay upright. And that's a really healthy thing. And so kids, older people, of course, women. And real quick, I have to say, I think I saw or read a statistic about the number of bike sales, and I bet this could be found out by Googling or something, but that the bikes are sold, I think, to close to 50% women. Now, that
Wow.
said, that doesn't mean they're riding them with the consistency maybe that some of the men are. Maybe not. I live in an area where I see a ton of women mountain bikers constantly. Mountain town, whatever, that has more to do with it probably. But sure, my hope is that over the next, 10 or 20 years, those numbers would even out. And, it's not a female mountain biker, it's just a mountain biker that we saw. You know what I mean?
That's a worthy dream. I think we could all dream that dream. So I'm in. I'm in.
Yeah.
I raised my hand. Yep, for sure. Well, Susan, what a treat to have you on. I'm so glad we could work it out and that you agreed to be part of the. I don't know. Did you feel obligated to be a part when I said it was the IMBA Women's Mountain Bike Day?
Absolutely not. I mean, privileged, truly.
Oh,
Really.
thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for showing interest. That definitely seems authentic in getting women on board, because it's such a beautiful thing. Just from my own experience and what I've seen with other women, and I mean, they literally say that getting into mountain biking really helped them, helped them overcome different things. And, it's a coping mechanism, I guess, is what it ends up being, but it's a really healthy one. And So I think it's really important that women, whatever their thing is, it might not be mountain biking, but once you do find that and you find the camaraderie that I think does exist, and just like you're obviously a very accepting and inclusive cyclist with regard to men, women, whoever, and I think that's a really beautiful thing about our sport, and I've always felt that all the men I've ever raced with or been around at races and stuff, they're very congratulatory and supportive and helpful and like proud, and that's really cool to see. And I don't think that happens in every single sport equally.
No, you might be right.
Yeah.
And I feel like mountain biking specifically is a very, very grounded
Yeah.
type of activity. So there might be the personalities and the sport
Yeah.
mesh in some way. But
Yeah.
anyway, I should let you go. But honestly, it's a privilege. The reason I asked if it was an obligation is because if people don't know this, because your husband Dave is he chairman of the board? Is that what his role is?
He's
Of
I guess what they call executive director.
He's executive director. Okay,
Yeah.
of the International Mountain Bike Association, IMBA. So I don't know. That's a good connection right then and there. I love
Yeah.
it. And I'm excited to talk to Dave about IMBA because I know IMBA has had its ups and downs over the years, and it sounds like it's on an upswing, and I love that. IMBA had a lot to do with our having mountain bike trails in Des Moines, Iowa.
Great.
We worked with the trail care crew several times. They worked with our county, with our city, and we were able to secure one little 7 mile long trail 25 years ago.
Wow.
And now there's probably, I don't know, 35 miles of mountain bike trails inside the city limits of Des Moines,
That's so awesome.
and
Yeah.
more beyond. So we have IMBA to thank for the support and advice and everything. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Well, that's good.
I'll-
I'm glad to hear that because yes, they've been around for a long time, and they seem very keen on inclusivity and accessibility, and I just love that because not everybody is lucky enough to, maybe as you and I have, start mountain biking at whatever age and do it recreationally. There's costs to getting involved with it, and I think right now they're really keen on trying to get as many people of as many backgrounds as possible. And if there's trails in cities, making it so much more accessible, that's a huge thing. So yes, I'm sure you guys will have a good conversation, and they're a good group.
Yeah, absolutely. Susan DeMattei, thank you tons and tons for coming on Bike Talk with Dave. It's a pleasure chatting with you. It's been a couple of years since we chatted last.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, and maybe we'll see you on the trails one day.
I would love that. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Bike Talk with Dave with mountain biking Hall of Famer Susan DeMattei. What a treat to have her on. I really hope you enjoyed her as much as I did. I'd like to thank Chain and Spoke for supporting the show, and you are welcome to as well. I'd love it if you would rate and review on your favorite podcast platform and give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook. When you do, it really helps the show's audience. Statistically, we have grown to be among the top 10% of podcasts based on downloads. And that is a big thanks to all of you for listening and sharing. Now, if you really love the show and you want to see it continue, feel free to support the show financially. Just look for Bike Talk with Dave at buymeacoffee.com, and when you do, I'll send you a sticker. I really appreciate all of you who've supported the show thus far. I can't thank Larry Burgart enough for his continued support. I've got a special treat for him when I see him in late July on RAGBRAI. I also have to thank BikeIowa.com for being the online host of Bike Talk with Dave. BikeIowa.com has one of the most extensive lists of cycling events anywhere, from gravel races to party rides. BikeIowa.com has it all, including the Core 4. On August 19th, I am planning on being there to tackle the gravel, single track, and pavement, and I'd love to see you there as well. Check it out. Are you looking for your next epic cycling adventure? We've got one for you this summer that challenges all the surface types. When the folks at Core 4 say no surface untouched, they mean it. Champagne gravel, pavement, speedy single track, and all the level B roads. Core 4 doesn't stop at 4 surface types. They've got an ethos to get all bodies on bikes, and it comes through initiatives which support socioeconomic justice, gender equality, and bike advocacy. It's all about community, opportunity, recreation, and engagement at Core 4. Go early, bring the fam. They've got everything: bikes, bevs, packet pickup party at Big Grove, live music, free camping, and finish line fun for all. Do not miss the No Surface Untouched action in Iowa City on Saturday, August 19th. 100, 50, and 25-mile options. Follow along on Instagram at Core4Bike and get in the lineup. I'm also excited to head to Lincoln, Nebraska on August 25th, where Dee and I will be sailing our tandem through the gravel seas in the 75-mile version of the Gravel Worlds. Remember, you can find Core 4, Gravel Worlds, and so many more events, gravel, mountain bike, road, whatever you like, at BikeIowa.com. Thanks for tuning in. Tune in next week for even more awesome bike adventures. And remember, you can find every episode and stream it on your computer or whatever your device from anywhere at biketalk.bike. Have a great week, and we'll see you on the trails.